We're welcoming Christina Wilhelm. She has a brand new book, and I have it in front of me. I had to write it down because it's beautiful. It's breast cancer. Now what? The missing is it the missing manual for informed decisions, return to work, and long-term recovery. I love that title. But I'm going to jump in and let you introduce yourself because I know you're a fellow survivor. And I love doing these lives with fellow survivors and seeing how they shape shifted their experience with the big C.
Wonderful. Well, again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the book because the book was just published literally last week, so it's still fairly new. And just to introduce myself, I am Christina Wilhelm. I am a patient advocate, but my professional background is communication, so I write for a living. Hence, it was sort of really interesting to write the book. And it's largely based on my own lived experience, but also a lot of feedback from patient surveys and patient communities to really talk about the two specific gaps in breast cancer care, which is an information gap and a support gap. And I was fortunate enough to move around a lot through my work. So I've experienced cancer care in 4 different countries. And that really, really highlighted to me how different it can even be based on where you live, you know, what treatment you have access to, what genetic testing and things like that, or legal protection. So it's really interesting what all kind of goes into that.
Oh my gosh. So what's a blessing is you have this years of being able to experience and communicate, but you also have, and I don't want to call cancer a blessing, but the double blessing of experience of living through it. You're a breast cancer survivor now, I think 9 years. Did I read that correctly? Since your
It's been
diagnosis?
5 years now for me. Yeah.
5 years. Oh my gosh. I want to take people back a little bit. What was your initial reaction? Where were you when you got that diagnosis? And do you remember that immediate moment?
So for me, it was kind of different because I actually was really deeply immersed into alternative medicine. So when I initially felt the lump, I thought it was just another benign cyst, and I didn't really think much of it. I know this happens to a lot of other women too. And because I was so conditioned to fear mammograms and the radiation kind of, you know, coming from the alternative medicine world, I ended up delaying my diagnosis for 2 years. And as you know, a lot can happen in 2 years. So then eventually, you know, I went to do a thermography image, which is something highly promoted in alternative communities. And but that actually, I learned through that it's not really a diagnostic tool because it just gives you an indication whether, you know, you need further investigate whatever the scan reveals or not. So then I ended up in the same place I was initially and was diagnosed. It was quite a big shock for me because I was really into healthy living and I probably dedicated 10 years of my life to cancer prevention strategies and studied a lot of that already. And then also gave public talks about breast cancer prevention. So it was really a bit of an irony in that moment to become a patient myself.
Christina, I want to shake my head because it's like we might have had different diagnosis, but kind of like our paths align. You know, gosh, the takeaway there is for people not to be afraid hypochondriacs at every little thing that happens in the body, but also don't neglect your body. For me, myself, I thought I had a bad cough, pneumonia. I let it go on so long that it collapsed my left lung. It was a huge tumor. So it's like that takeaway of, yes, we can be healthy, we can be positive, we can be all the things, and still sometimes life surprises us. I feel the same way with you. Like, you know, all my friends can attest to this. They're like, how does this happen? You're the healthiest of the bunch. I go to the gym. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm very like, I love healthy living. And then here I am, stage 4 cancer. So it's like being graceful and kind to yourself that, you know, this can happen to anybody, you know, so there's like this humility that comes through it, and that it's not necessarily anything you did wrong, you know. It's like having this grace to say, okay, this happened to me, now what? But also be kind to your body. Your body is speaking to you in a language without words. Go get checked out. Go just see without fear, you know. And so I think for all our viewers here, you know, my aunt is a breast cancer survivor. I have an aunt in Portugal, and I think, you know, for all of us and for women, it could be just a lump. Great. Go into it with that mindset. Don't be afraid, but also it could be something else. So what is your body saying? Your body doesn't speak English. It's a whole other language. So I hope the viewers take away that don't be afraid, but go get yourself checked out when there's something speaking to you. This is why I love, how do I say, the transformation out of an experience. You took that and now you have this incredible new book. I love the cover, everybody. I actually, listen, I'm learning to get better and better with these lives. I put the link here so people can check out your book directly. It's Breast Cancer Now What?
Thank
It
you.
is such a beautiful pop of color, and I love the way the imagery is. And what I love most, and I want to dive into this, is that your book is coming from a place of your experience, but also what do you do now with that experience? And I experienced it personally, and I wrote about it in my personal book that cancer is a full-time job. Not only the
Mhm.
battle of cancer, when people are like, what are you doing with your day? What do you mean, what am I doing with my day? I'm fighting cancer. I need to eat my breakfast. It takes me an hour. But also, what do you do after you're spit out of the cancer machine? How daunting to go from, I'm surviving, trying to fight cancer, and now where do I go? And am I needed in the world? So tell us a little bit about this beautiful manual, so to speak, or this book to support people with the afterwards.
So the book actually starts with treatment decisions because when I entered the conventional medical system as a patient, I really came across a lot of gaps. And because I did 10 years of independent cancer research before becoming a patient myself, that kind of gave me in some important context that I realized most patients don't have access to when they're diagnosed because there's a lot of information they're not receiving from the healthcare providers. And when I became a patient advocate with different cancer charities and institutions, I realized that this is more of a systemic issue that happens on a global scale. That patients don't fully understand the absolute or their absolute benefit from treatment and then what it means for their quality of life trade-off. And then really to kind of work together with the doctors in a shared decision-making process to find a protocol that's right for them, because we're all unique, right? Everybody has different circumstances, priorities, beliefs, or even just a different approach to risk. And so I really believe that nowadays the way treatment is presented isn't risk information at all, oftentimes. And a lot of it is based on population statistics, which means we know that the treatment works at population level, but for the individual, we have no way of telling whether or not they can actually benefit from things like chemo. And I think that's where then we need to ask a lot of questions to really understand kind of the limits also of conventional medicine and equally alternative approaches. So I wrote this book to really give patients almost like a framework to ask doctors specific questions and to understand what they're being proposed, and then find a personal protocol that's right for them, that really fits their own circumstances. And then we know for many patients, as you described, when active treatment ends, it's like feeling off a cliff because suddenly all the support disappears and you had access to your multidisciplinary team for so long and then they're all suddenly gone. But there's not enough information what else you can do to help yourself in terms of your lifestyle changes, be it nutrition, what you eat, exercise, or nervous system regulation. And now, at least where I live in the UK, a lot of that is being covered by charities, for example. But the discussions that are happening with doctors still don't really include enough of that. And we know many patients don't even understand that recurrence is actually something that happens to 30% of women with breast cancer. So yeah, it's not a small number, and that can lead to patients being blindsided and maybe remaining passive. But actually, we now have so much evidence-based lifestyle optimization strategies that people can proactively incorporate into their daily routines to really kind of help themselves maximize their outcome. Because one thing you probably know as much as I do is there's no guarantees in anything. No matter what treatment you choose or how you eat or however you move your body, it's all just about probabilities.
Mike, you blew me away with that number, 30% reoccurrence for the breast cancer community.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a high
exactly.
number. And it's not to scare anybody,
Mm-hmm.
we can go beyond the numbers, but it's a great thing to know to support somebody's mindset. You brought up something that touches me personally, and it's about finding alternative ways, or how do I say, adding alternative, beautiful other modalities to your healing
Mm-hmm.
experience. And I really believe, for me, Christina, and I say it a lot, is I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, I had really aggressive chemotherapy, super
Mm-hmm.
aggressive, I needed it. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the chemo, but there was also a mystical component to this healing experience. There is prayer, meditation, there is sound healing that I put on myself and then now bring to the world. There's what are you listening to? Are you spending time in nature? All those things coming together. And I feel like we're living in a better time where even the scientific, the medicine community, doctors are being much more open. I remember, let's say 15 years ago or so, when I would talk to my primary care doctor about holistic, they didn't want to work with me. They'd roll their eyes. Now,
Mm-hmm.
like my oncology team, they'd be like, okay, great, do that in the in-betweens. But when you're here, it's the medicine. There was nothing like, ooh, what is she talking about? So we're living in a better time. But I bring it back to say this, for your own personal experience, what did you do in your remission and your afterwards, or maybe during as well, your treatment that was holistic and supported your experience?
So, yeah, my situation is a little bit different because I used to be a firm believer in alternative medicine, and my initial approach to the diagnosis was that I basically chose natural remedies to try to heal myself. But after 3 months, I actually had to hand myself over to conventional medicine to stabilize my condition. And this basically led to me being a bit more critical about every specific thing that we hear, be it from alternative practitioners or from conventional doctors. And I think it's not about choosing sides, as you said, it's about integration, to
Mm,
take what works and to leave what doesn't, and to have realistic expectations of, what treatments actually can or cannot do. And I think the more balanced approach is especially important. Say, I was somebody who had a primary breast cancer diagnosis. So we know from data that actually you have far better chances of cure or being cured if you use conventional medicine approaches at that stage in terms of looking at the 5 year survival and so on. So I'm really kind of about that balance, and as you said rightly, it's wonderful to know that more and more doctors are open to alternative approaches, or I like to call them complementary actually nowadays. You
yes.
know, um,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yes.
especially with things that breast cancer patients are going through, a lot of these endocrine treatment symptoms that can be quite harsh, or medical menopause is something also I had to endure for 3 years, and so that's where complementary approaches can really make a bit of a difference
Mm.
in handling that. Yeah.
I love what you say, and I think your book is so needed in the world. Our experiences are really what we shape them to be. What do we do with our own messages? And we're living in a time where, thank goodness, there's great survivors and stories to share that support the person, that's coming behind us into the journey, that gives us a little bit of
Mm.
light. And I love what you said about balance. I'm all about balance and complementing rather than what was the
Mm.
other word? But yeah, the complementing, and they can
Yeah.
coexist, right? And I'm all about that in all aspects of life. Isn't it the way to kind of try to achieve a sense of balance? Um, Gosh, I'm just loving everything that you're sharing. What is one thing that you wish the viewers here, people, tuning in, going to watch this after that, or consider picking up your book? What do you hope that they'll take away from your personal experience, your own legacy that you're leaving behind via your life?
I think that readers or listeners have a lot more agency in their own journey than what they might be told by the medical team. And I'm a really firm believer in finding personal protocols that really work for the individual, because it's the only honest way to really make treatment decisions, because we know there is no guarantee either way. And what we get, as I mentioned earlier, is mostly probabilities. So we know that the treatment works at the population level, sorry, but for the individual, we have no way of saying that exactly. So, for example, somebody who has breast cancer in their family, whose mother died from breast cancer, would have a completely different risk approach to somebody who doesn't have any breast cancer in their family, right? Or some woman who has small children depending on her is very different to somebody who doesn't have children. So there's a lot about these individual circumstances that are really unique to each and individual person. And
Mm,
then really knowing that the treatment may have a small benefit. Say, we know a lot of endocrine therapy it has a rather more marginal benefit, but the side effects are very debilitating. That's how a lot of women are describing it. So end of the day, to try as much as you can, and but then it comes the time where you have to make a call. Is actually the expected benefit, say if it's 4%, is it worth the trade-off that it does to your ability to work, your ability to have intimate relationships, to parent, and all of these things. So again, it goes back to making these personal decisions. And I think
mm,
at least that's what I'm trying with the book, to kind of teach people the realistic expectation of what treatment can and cannot do, and what questions to ask the medical team, because it's all about finding that balance and having a shared decision-making approach rather than doctors just telling us what to do. Because
mm.
that's only working with standard protocols that may or may not be the right choice for you, and everybody is different.
I love that. And it's very much about being the CEO of your own health. Be the CEO
Exactly.
of your own
Hmm.
life. To that even in your weakest hour, you have to look out for yourself and do the research and don't be afraid to say, you know what, I question that or no to this and yes to that, right? Like really wanting to know and going beyond for yourself. I want to ask you another question, Christina, and I'm curious, what is something that you do daily now as a survivor that is a must for perhaps your nervous system, for your overall health, that you're like, it's a non-negotiable, this is what I do every day, I know I need it as the CEO of my own health.
So I really love meditations.
uh
Meditation is something I dedicate at least an hour every day, and I really get into it because I really like it a lot, and I'm getting a lot of benefits from it. But also, I'm a very active person, so I do exercise. It's not optional for me. It's always been a must. And I think everybody needs to find their own rhythm. If they love exercise, it's great. But if not, then don't beat yourself up. They can do small things consistently rather than, I'm not a fan of rigid diets or strict diets or rigid protocols. So it needs to fit within your specific lifestyle that you have today, because otherwise you probably won't be able to sustain it. So for me, the two things are exercise and meditation for
my
sure.
gosh, I want to tap in a little bit. When people say meditation, I always have this
Uh-huh.
this healthy sense of curiosity for people's various ways of doing meditation. I meditate as well daily, and I have a spot I go to, but I also, have my ritual at home, and I think it's a non-negotiable before bed. Whenever you do it, when you rise, even if it's a few minutes, like what are you allowing yourself to reveal for the day and to tap into and to just listen for a moment deep inside. Curious, what does your meditation look like, if that's not too personal of a question?
Oh, that's okay. I mean, I've tried different meditations over the years. At the moment, I really love Joe Dispenza meditations.
I love him. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's wonderful. I love Joe Dispenza, and I love a quote that stays with me all the time, that a memory without emotion is wisdom.
yeah,
A
that's right.
memory without
Hmm.
emotion is wisdom. It's like, how do we remember even our cancer experience? And there's not an emotion that's creates a suffering, but rather where's the wisdom coming out of that experience so we can illuminate ourselves and those around us. So thank you so much for that, Christina. What a joy to finally get to meet you. I love everything that you're sharing to do with your gorgeous book. I want to tell people to just, oh my God, click on the link and check out the beauty that is this book visually, but also the beauty inside. Just so much good and gold. And I think about it this way, whether a book is for me, I always can think about who is it in my circle that needs a book. So if there's somebody
Hmm.
that you know in your life that's going through cancer, a neighbor or somebody, give them the gift of a book. Let the words support them on their journey. That's the power of what we do, with books. Books are timeless. They're not going out of style. They're forever, right? So
Right.
anyway, I thank you, Christina, for your time, for sharing your beautiful wisdom, for exposing your experience through your gorgeous book. And if people want to find you, reach out to you more directly, where can, they go to check you out? I know you're here on Instagram as well. You're on
Hmm.
LinkedIn, which I'm loving all your posts. I love LinkedIn. But where else, if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I have a website which is my name, ChristinaWilhelm.com, and they can find me through that, and contact information is there as well.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Christina, all the way across the pond, right?
Thanks
Isn't
for
it
having me.
wonderful? It's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing the gift of your time and
Thank you.
connecting this way. It's such a beautiful web of survivors, aren't we? Survivors and authors and supporting each other in this story. There's room for everybody to uplift the world and to lean on love and to lean on each other, you know? So thank you, Christina. I hope everyone will, check out everything that we shared. Share this live as well with anybody that needs it. And I'm sending you all love and light. It's such a joy. Thank you, Christina, and everybody.
Thank you. Nice to speak
Bye.
with
Oh,
you.
quick
Bye.
question.
Oh,
Do you have a book on hand or no? Is your book? Oh, yeah, see, before I forget, I always like to have our little screenshot of us together. Hold it. Oh my God, love it. What a beautiful book, guys. Now you know what I'm talking about when I say look at the cover. It's so cool. It's a work of art. Ciao.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.